February 4th, 1987. 6:47 a.m. A cattle ranch outside Medellín. The air is heavy, humid, silence before the storm. Police and DEA agents move in. Tactical units stack at the gates, weapons up. This isn't a drug bust, it's a siege. They breach the perimeter. This isn't a random stash house, it's a command center. Inside the master bedroom, officers don't find kilos. They find a library. German philosophy, political theory, Mein Kampf sitting next to Hermann Hesse. They find photos of the target at rallies, cheering crowds, microphones. This is political. This is ambition. Then they find it. A life-sized bronze statue. A man, naked, holding a guitar. John Lennon, the symbol of peace, wearing a Nazi helmet. The ultimate contradiction. The fractured mind of the man they are here to take down. Carlos Lehder is in the jungle. A brief firefight. Then, surrender. He doesn't choose martyrdom. He chooses leverage. He knows something Escobar doesn't. Information is the only currency that buys you a future. They cuff him, 37 years old. He controls 80% of America's cocaine supply. He's made billions. He's built palaces. And this morning, it all burns. But this arrest isn't the end. It's the cover-up. Because the man in those handcuffs is a ghost. A neo-Nazi who worships the Beatles. A partner to Pablo Escobar, and a partner to the CIA. The man who turned an island into an empire. And in 2025, the only one left alive to tell the truth. In 2025, now 75 years old and free, Carlos Lehder is breaking a 30-year silence. And what he is about to reveal, it rewrites everything. Not just about him, about the drug war itself, about Cold War politics, about CIA calculations, about dictators in partnership with cocaine traffickers, about how America's foreign policy priorities sometimes mean looking away from the largest cocaine operation in the world. This is the story of a man who becomes too valuable to kill and too dangerous to free. A man whose knowledge of government complicity is weaponized to keep him alive. A man who survives when everyone else burns. But before we get to what he is revealing now, you need to understand who he is and why he survives. There is a hierarchy in the Medellín Cartel, and Lehder is right at the top. Everyone knows about Pablo Escobar, the brutal, violent kingpin. The man who builds an empire through fear. But before Escobar rises to his peak, before he becomes the face of cocaine trafficking to the world, there is someone else. Someone smarter about logistics. Someone more innovative about operations. Someone the cartel calls by a different name, Crazy Charlie. Carlos Lehder is a neo-Nazi who loves John Lennon and does deals with Fidel Castro. A Colombian who thinks like a German. A man who wants to be a politician but cannot escape cocaine. A trafficker who is also an ideologue. When people think about the cocaine wars, they think Escobar. But Escobar does not create the system that floods America with cocaine. Lehder does. Escobar merely inherits it. Before the private island and the billions, there is a prison cell where it all comes together. Danbury Federal Prison, Connecticut, 1973. Carlos Lehder is just a petty car thief, 23 years old, smart, ambitious, but going nowhere. Then he meets his cellmate, George Jung. George Jung is a legend in cocaine circles. He has pioneered the Miami-Columbia route. He has moved hundreds of kilos. He has something Lehder does not have, experience, and a simple observation that changes everything. Jung does the math. In Colombia, a kilo of cocaine costs $4,000. In Miami, the same kilo sells for $60,000. That's a profit of $56,000 on a single kilo. Every single one. Jung says, that's when bells start going off in my head. But Lehder hears something different. A question. What if you stop thinking in kilos? What if you think in tons? Because that's what separates Lehder from every other trafficker who comes before him. He doesn't see the cocaine trade as a criminal enterprise. He sees it as a logistics problem. Boats are slow. They take days. Cars take weeks. But planes can make the Colombia to Miami run in hours. Get in, get out, before anyone knows what happens. He talks about it constantly in that prison cell. The mathematical elegance of it, the operational efficiency, the scale. By the time he leaves Danbury, Lehder has the blueprint, not just to move cocaine, to industrialize it. By 1980, Carlos Lehder owns Norman's Key in the Bahamas. It is a private island, 2 miles long. He buys it for $4.75 million. Then he gets to work. He builds a runway. He builds a compound. He creates an operational hub, the cartel's gateway between Colombia and the United States. And he staffs it with the best pilots, mechanics, and security personnel money can buy. At peak operation, Lehder's airline, his private fleet, transports 4 to 5 tons of cocaine per day out of Norman's Key. Every single day. That's 1,500 tons per year. More cocaine than any other trafficker in history moves in the same period. He is moving 70 to 80% of all cocaine entering the United States. He controls the largest smuggling operation the world has ever seen. He is making between $4 and $5 million per day, every day. That's $2 billion per year. And the US government cannot stop him. The DEA knows about him. The FBI knows about him. Congress knows about him. By 1982, American intelligence agencies have identified Norman's Key as the primary cocaine transshipment point for the United States. They have satellite photos. They have intelligence reports. They have everything they need to shut him down. But they don't. Why? Because of something bigger than drug enforcement. Something that will shape American foreign policy for the rest of the decade. Cold War politics. Here's where Lehder becomes interesting, beyond just being a drug trafficker. Most cartel bosses are one-dimensional. Escobar is violent. The Ochoas are businessmen. Rodriguez Gacha is brutal. They have one mode, one ideology, one drive. Make money, stay alive, expand power. Lehder is different. He's fractured, split between contradictory ideologies, a human embodiment of Latin America's divided politics. He is a fervent admirer of Adolf Hitler. He reads Nazi ideology, speaks about eugenics, wears swastika jewelry. He proudly hangs Nazi memorabilia on his walls. Yet he also loves John Lennon, the Beatles, progressive music, counterculture. He sees in Lenin something revolutionary, something idealistic. The statue they find in the raid, the nude Lenin wearing a Nazi helmet, is a statement. An attempt to merge his two heroes, the fascist and the pacifist, the authoritarian and the libertarian. It's the perfect representation of his fractured psychology. In the 1980s, while running the largest cocaine operation in the world, Lehder founds a political movement called the National Latin Movement, Movimiento Latino Nacional. He models it directly on Hitler's Nazi Party. It has a paramilitary youth wing. It has uniforms. It has rallies. Lehder would hold public events in Colombia, where he hands out bundles of cocaine cash to crowds to build support. He attracts 10,000 people to some rallies. He declares, "Marijuana is for the people. Cocaine is for milking the rich." He claims the profits from cocaine trafficking are being channeled to common Colombians, that the oligarchy is envious, that he is a man of the people. He craves legitimacy, and even deludes himself that he might become president. He is desperate for people to see him not as a drug lord, but as a revolutionary. For now, Crazy Charlie needs partners and protection. He needs governments that will look the other way. In Panama, he finds just that: Manuel Noriega. Noriega is a brutal military dictator, corrupt, paranoid, dangerous, and desperately in need of money. His government is collapsing. His military is underfunded. His grip on power is slipping. Lehder pays him nearly $10 million over 2 years for protection. Noriega's G2 military intelligence force provides secure routes. They move tonnage through military channels and launder money through Panama's banks. It's a full-service, state-backed drug-running enterprise. But Panama is just one piece. The bigger piece is Cuba. In January 2024, at age 75, Carlos Lehder publishes his memoir, Life and Death of the Medellín Cartel. In it, and in interviews that follow, he makes extraordinary claims. Claims that corroborate what intelligence defectors have been saying for decades. Lehder claims he is personally invited to Cuba by the Castro government, that he meets with Raúl Castro, the defense minister, that they negotiate an arrangement. Lehder will pay the Cuban government a percentage of his cocaine shipments passing through Cuban airspace. In exchange, Cuba will provide logistics support and political protection. According to Lehder, the cartel sends hundreds of tons of cocaine through Cuba, with full government cooperation. He claims he donates an airplane to Raúl Castro as part of the deal, and makes cash payments to the Cuban government. Now, here's the crucial part. Lehder is not alone in making these claims. In the 1980s, a Cuban intelligence officer named Juan Antonio Rodríguez Meñer defects to the United States. He provides the U.S. government with detailed information about Fidel Castro's personal involvement in drug trafficking operations. Another Cuban defector, Enrique Garcia, states in testimony, "None of the operations can be carried out in Cuba without the authorization of Fidel Castro."
But the cartel needs more routes, so Lehder expands beyond Cuba. In Central America, two forces are at war. The Sandinistas, a leftist government that just took power, are fighting the Contras, a US-backed rebel army funded by the CIA. It is the Cold War playing out in the jungle, and both sides need money. Lehder sees an opening. He approaches the Sandinista government with an offer. "Let cocaine flow through Nicaragua. We'll pay you a cut. You can use it to fight the Americans." They say yes. Lehder claims that what follows is a conspiracy orchestrated by Cuban intelligence. Lehder's planes land in Nicaragua, refuel, and continue north to the United States. The Sandinista government protects the operation. Cuba coordinates it, and the cocaine flows. The irony is stunning. While America is arming the Contras to fight communism, Lehder is flying cocaine through a communist country with that government's blessing. By 1991, Lehder knows all of this. So when he testifies against Manuel Noriega, he has a choice: reveal everything or stay silent. He stays silent. He testifies about Noriega, but he says nothing about Nicaragua, nothing about Cuba's role. The US government wants it that way. They don't want him to talk about Nicaragua, because that would expose how deep American intelligence went in overlooking drug trafficking by Cold War allies.
For 34 years, Lehder keeps that secret. But in 2024, he opens the book. In his memoir, he reveals the full scope of the Nicaragua operation, how much the Sandinistas knew, how Cuba coordinated it, how the U.S. government chose to ignore it because fighting communism mattered more than fighting cocaine. And here's where the intersection of Cold War and cocaine gets darker. There is a ghost haunting South America, Klaus Barbie, the Butcher of Lyon, a Nazi war criminal who escaped Nuremberg. In 1980, he isn't hiding, he is working. Barbie helps organize the infamous cocaine coup in Bolivia. This isn't just a military takeover, it's a hostile takeover by the drug trade, enforced by a private army of neo-fascists dubbed the Fiancés of Death. Barbie acts as the bridge, a Nazi war criminal brokering meetings between Bolivian generals Pablo Escobar and Manuel Noriega. It is the ultimate proof of Lehder's dark philosophy. Ideology doesn't matter. Morality doesn't matter. In the Cold War, if you are anti-communist, you are an ally, even if you are a Nazi, even if you are a narco. The bill finally comes due. Pablo Escobar, shot on a rooftop in '93. Gotcha, gunned down in '89. The Ochoa brothers, rotting in prison. The entire founding board of the Medellín Cartel, dead or buried alive. But Lehder lives. Why? Because he plays the only card Escobar refuses to play: betrayal. He trades his silence for survival. In 1991, he testifies against his old partner, Manuel Noriega. He exposes the roots, the payoffs, the CIA connections. The U.S. government cuts his sentence. 135 years becomes 55. He spends 33 years in a concrete box while the world forgets his name. Until 2020. Release. Germany. And finally, 2025. The ghost returns to the scene of the crime. Carlos Lehder, now 75, frail and free, walks the ruins of his Posada Alemana. The Nazi statues are gone. The John Lennon statue was stolen years ago. The empire is just rubble and vines. He claims he is a reformed man. He calls money the devil's dung. But look closer. He is the man who industrialized cocaine. He is the man who partnered with dictators. He is the man who knew too much to kill. The cartel is gone. The Cold War is over. But Crazy Charlie? He beat the odds. He beat the DEA. He even beat Pablo. He survived to tell the tale.